Okay, so this week we're going to try to clean out this tank. So this is day one. I put that rod down inside there, and this is what it looked like after it was done, right? So I'm going to fill it up again for the day two. I'm going to fill this thing all the way up to the water. Then I'm going to make sure that that rod isn't touching anywhere in that tank. So I'm going to ohm the rod out against the tank and make sure that it's either mega ohms or kilo ohms. And because if it's a dead short, then I'm in trouble, right? So this is what I did. I got a piece of thread all. I put a rubber stopper at the bottom and a rubber washer at the top. And so the rubber washer makes sure that the thread all isn't touching on the bottom of the tank. And then the rubber washer on the top made sure that when the thread all was laying in there, it didn't touch any metal parts. And then of course I taped where the rod actually sit coming out of the filler hole. So nothing on that rod should be touching the metal tank, because then you'd have a dead short. So this is what it should look like when you're done. I have one end of the battery pack to the tube where the fuel line connects, and then I have the other side of the battery pack to the all thread, right? And that all thread is sitting inside the tank. It's not touching anything, right? So it's not shorted, and it's just going to sit in there for 24 hours like this. I also have the battery pack plugged in so it doesn't kill the battery. And at the end of 24 hours, I'm going to come back and I'll empty it, because here in a second you'll see why. It all floats to the top, and there it is, right? So you get that out, you clean that out, rinse it back out with water a couple of times, go ahead and fill it back up. I try to shake all that stuff out of there, and then also put the hose down inside there. Anything loose, try to knock that out. You can see that water is pretty brown and rusty. So we'll get that to go out. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sending unit out, right? And here's where I ran into a problem. I took the sending unit out, and you'll see here in a second there's no bar with a float connected to it. It must have rotted off or broke off at some point. I tried to fish around with the magnet, and I couldn't get anything. I also just shook the tank to see if there's anything loose in there, and there wasn't. So at some point, somebody must have gotten that out of there. That being said, this rubber O-ring was about 40 years old. It was glued on there hard. So I cleaned that area up real good and got it all prepped up. Once I got it prepped up, then I got in there again with some Brillo, cleaned that edge up real good that the whizzer wheel wouldn't clean up. And then as soon as I got it good and clean, I washed it all down so I didn't have any metal fibers that were going to rust. I put my garden hose back inside there and filled the tank up with a little water, made sure that I didn't have any rust down inside there, and drained that back out. And once I drained it out, then I'm going to go ahead and I'll put the sender back in. So I bought a new O-ring. I didn't know that the sender was broken at the time. So I put a new O-ring and put the old sender back on, because I still have to do this rod 2 or 3 more times, because I'm still pulling a lot of rust out of this tank. So here we go. Here's day 3. Once again, it's rusty. It's doing its job. So we're going to go ahead and take it apart, pull that rod back out of there. We'll go ahead and drain it, and then we'll get ready for day 4. This could take probably a week by the time I get everything done. All right, so I got everything cleaned out after 5 days. I'll put the tank back on. I'll change out the petcock, because the petcock was really in bad shape. I also blew out all 3 tubes to make sure that they were good, I put about a gallon of WD-40 in the tank before I installed the tank, shook it all around so the tank wouldn't immediately start to rust again. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on this fuel, and then that will make the fuel pump come on. And so I'll start the bike and pump what's into the tank into this fuel jug while the bike is running on controlled fuel. So I got all that done. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull out the fuel pump, and I'm going to change out this fuel filter, right? So, and change out the lines. So we'll get this over to the bench, and we'll change out the lines. We'll change out the filter. Pretty straightforward, not a big deal to do this. That hose had been on there for a while, so it didn't really want to come off, but not bad. Pinch this together, and then that pops right out of that clip. Right, it's just a pinch thing. It's got a little groove in the filter that holds that up. You can see that filter, pretty old, been on there for a while. So now that we've got that ready, we'll go ahead and we'll put new fuel lines, new filters, and new clamps on. This is 6mm fuel line, 6mm gas line, obviously. So now I've got all that installed. Now I'm going to put the fuel pump back in with these new lines on. And it took me a minute or two to try to figure out how to route these lines without kinking anything, and making sure that they, ran smooth and didn't interfere in anything. But once I got these lines through there, basically it's just 2 bolts in that coolant tank to put it back in. That coolant tank, it's just got a little nub in the bottom. You push that into a hole, and then there's 2 10mm bolts. So I've got that all back in. I've got the wiring all put back together. So everything looks good. Now I'm going to put the bike together. I'm going to fire it up and see how it runs. So as you can see, it runs pretty doggone good. So I guess we're done. Well, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you like, you could like and subscribe. Have a good day.